back at home in the studio, I've got a lot of old vintage analog gear, and particularly like some really cool vintage polysynths. And one of my favorites is the Prophet 5, which I guess was made sort of in the 80s and became a bit of a standard, like started on lots of records, and we ended up making our second record in Ghost Colors using like a lot of Prophet 5 all over it. But then when it came to tour that record, I just couldn't bear the thought of bringing this beautiful synth out with us on tour and seeing it getting slowly destroyed on the road. So I was on the hunt for something that would be kind of similar in sound and could, I guess do a lot of the sounds from our recordings. At the time when In Ghost Colors came out, I think soon after that the Prophet 08 came out, and it was like, man, this is awesome. Like, it's got a lot of the sort of sounds of the Prophet 5, but then kind of updated with a lot of extra functionality as well. This is the main polysynth that I use for playing our live shows. And I guess it's got this sort of beautiful, sort of woody tone to it. And it kind of, it can kind of do that really well. It can also sort of do more sort of lead sounds that are kind of pretty huge. So yeah, just like a bit of a spectrum of stuff, and also has its own arpeggiator inbuilt. So yeah, which we use for some of these tracks as well. So. And then to accompany that, there's, I guess, some of our tracks that have more like acidy kind of lead sounds, and that's what this one is for, sort of ravey synth sounds, lots of resonance, that kind of thing. So you can kind of hear, it can do those sounds really well, really punchy. I guess a lot of these keyboards have a lot more functionality than some of the, like granddaddy vintage stuff that I work with as well. And so it's a bit of a trade-off. I think like there's just like an intangible quality to vintage gear, and sometimes even the feel of using it, kind of inspires you. It's just something magical about it. But at the same time, often it's limited. Like a lot of these keyboards are made before MIDI existed, which makes it hard to integrate into a studio. And a lot of them just don't, they wouldn't be able to fit all the functionality that exists in this SEO2, into a box that big. Back in the 70s or whenever they started making mini Moogs. So the technology and the advancement means, when you're playing shows, you can just pull this out. It's a lot more portable, it fits in a backpack. You can just have these in your bag and, more or less write a song, which is pretty amazing, really.
So the Voyager is kind of the first synth I played in the band. We added this later, but just mainly use this to replicate a lot of the synth bass that was sequenced. And I was like, I want to play a couple of those things. So like Hearts on Fire was the first one that I started playing. Yeah. Sounds pretty fat. I mean, that's what they're known for, like 3 oscillators and huge kind of basses and stuff. But then use it on a bunch of different songs. And it does kind of little leads and stuff as well. Like, get a fair bit of use out of that. And then the Korg, mainly we added it after the Free Your Mind album to use like the Korg M1 piano sounds, like this kind of bright, really kind of cheap sounding piano sound. This is kind of a weirder iteration of the original Micro Korg. Yeah, but it's got really awesome onboard sounds, including like a nice like mellotron kind of thing as well, and like sort of does everything. We're always drawn to like more immediate tactile synths live, and they're sort of robust and reliable, and they stand alone, so they're not kind of part of some CPU that could crash. So that's why I think we like to use the real thing live mainly. Yeah,
we're pretty much exclusive Fender Jazzmasters, Jags, and these Fender reissues, they're pretty fantastic and a lot more durable. They get quite a bit of a workout, much to my guitar tech's dismay. So running into AC30s, always kind of played AC30s, generally live, and recording. Usually just use this for a spare now. I used to run two, different settings and switching between the two, but trying to like simplify things as much as possible. This is the first point of call. It's just a ZVEX kind of, it's just like a booster pedal, but it kind of has this really nice bottom end quality to it. So it was a boost, but now I have it left on for the entire show. Exotic wah, probably the most durable live wah. I think anybody that tours with one, like, you know, dust getting in here and everything's always a problem. And so went through a lot of different ones. Used the Jam wah a lot on the record, but got this exotic one for live. Then the ZFX Distortion, once again, really solid kind of distortion pedal. Not too crazy, not too fuzzy, more of like an overdrive distortion. They say it's like a Marshall stack turned up to 10 kind of thing. But it's got, once again, a really nice bottom end and crunch to it. And then TC Electronics flashback delay. Been through a lot of digital delay pedals, and this is by far my favorite. Boss RV6, I went with the ever reliable solid Boss Reverb. We use this C machine, which is like a chorus modulation, but it can get very wonky. Ben Allen, that we worked with on our last record, we used this on nearly everything. For every guitar, every keyboard, he was kind of running it through the C machine a lot. And then you also have EBO that you use a lot in a couple of tracks that we used on the record. And then really my last point of call is trigger pad, which is triggering a lot of samples from Ableton. We used to have the MPC, we used to take turns at like playing the MPC, which was fun. People would always ask, well, what are you guys doing? What's that thing that you're hitting? And so it was quite performative and something that we've kept.